Now we are going to debut on YouTube a segment that I have done multiple times on the podcast. Back in the day, I was doing it on Mondays. Now, I've actually thought about how I'm going to be doing the podcast because I just did an interview on Monday, which if you haven't checked that one out, definitely go check that out with Sam from Conrad Sports Cards. I've thought about just switching to more interviews and less of these like sit-down type episodes, but I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do yet. So, but buy or sell will be part of this process. So we're doing buy or sell, and the player that I'm going to be choosing is probably, it may be controversial, maybe it's not controversial. It's going to be Lamelo Ball. Now, I am always nervous with these new rookies of making predictions of whether I like them or I don't like them because, especially with Lamelo Ball, he's only played maybe 10 games at this point. So I think you look at his statistics, he's played fine. Like, he's still behind Anthony Edwards for points per game. Like, if you look at hashtag basketball, which I talked about on a previous episode, I think he is going to be in the top 1 or 2 in terms of best player overall, or best rookie this year. So I think some of the things that I like about him. So when I'm doing these buy or sells, I try and make sure that I'm looking at the bigger picture when it comes to the player. Now, buy or sell right now, and maybe we'll call it something different, but for now it's buy or sell. It doesn't exactly have to do with the cards and buying the actual cards. It's just the player and if I like the player or not. So buy or sell was just an easy one because, if you listen to, I think it's, Around the Horn, they have like a buy or sell segment. So like, I thought it was a good idea for a segment. So the buy or sell is going to be what we're calling it. So Lamelo Ball. Here's what I like about Lamelo Ball. He is playing on a team that isn't really expected to be that good. The Hornets. Like, I think if you're a Hornets fan, obviously you're looking at all the young players, and then at the addition of Terry Rozier and the addition of Gordon Hayward, and then you've got P.J. Washington in his second year, and then you've got players like Mikal Bridges, and you got Bismack Biyombo, and you got all of these young players and veteran players that I think is a good combination of a roster. Now, are they going to be good enough to get out of the Eastern Conference? Like, are they ever going to be good enough to beat a team like the Celtics or to I think that the 76ers have their ups and downs, but they're one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. Or the Toronto Tampa Bay Raptors, because they're playing in Tampa Bay right now. The Tampa Bay Raptors. Or the Heat. Like, the Heat are another team that I really like. So are they ever going to be a good enough roster to beat those teams? I guess we will see. But so the roster, like I said, I think there's still maybe 1 or 2 players that they can add, and if they add 1 or 2 players, I think they could potentially be a high-seeded playoff team. Like, right now, I think they're in 5th or 6th in the Eastern Conference, but I just don't see them going very far in the playoffs. Now, obviously, when you make a prediction like that, who knows what happens by the end of the season? But that's kind of my prediction, at least for the team itself. Now, adding Gordon Hayward and adding Scary Terry it hurts my heart as a Celtics fan because those were players that were on the Celtics that left. And, Gordon Hayward he's been one of the better players in the league this year, maybe the best player on that team. We also just saw Lamelo Ball become the youngest player to record a triple-double. And I think that statistic is a little bit deceiving, because he is a rookie. He is still super young. But instead of going to college, he went to play in the Australian Basketball League. And that's another reason why I like R.J. Hampton if you're looking for a player that, isn't super popular right now, isn't getting a lot of minutes. R.J. Hampton on the Nuggets is another player that I really like because he also went to Australia to play in this league. So I think playing in a league with professionals like that, I think is a big deal. And I think, I'm not sure. This is kind of another theory that I've been thinking about. Is this rookie class good, or is the NBA just not, or are the other players in the league not playing as well? Like, or are they just maybe not rested? Because any player who was playing in college didn't play in the tournament. Like, they almost hadn't played in a full calendar year. Now, I think the Australian Basketball League was a little bit different. I forget kind of when they shut down and when, and then when LaMelo kind of was coming here. But I also think that growing up with like a player like Lonzo, and even though LiAngelo hasn't exactly panned out yet, he still has some time, I think, being such a young player. I think growing up with them, he was obviously super competitive, and, his hype, I'm surprised he has actually been more popular considering like what he did in high school. Like, I kind of all started when he scored like the 92 points and he hit that, like, there was that one shot where he like pointed at the floor, like he was almost at like half court, and then he shot like a half court shot. You know, I'm surprised there actually isn't more hype amount around LaMelo Ball. I think probably because he went over to Australia and didn't play in college. So I think there are a bunch of reasons why I do like LaMelo, and I think it's going to be a buy for me. Like, I think I bought into him right now. And I think I was skeptical going into the season, but in his first 10, 15 games that he's played, I think he's played extremely well. And I think the situation that he's in, he's not going to be needed to be the number one scorer. Like, sometimes when a player gets drafted really high and they go to a team that's really bad, they're sort of expected that they're going to be one of the best players on the team. And that's why I actually think that maybe this NBA, these rookies are playing better, is because if you look at like Anthony Edwards and James Wiseman and LaMelo Ball, they're not going to be the first options on those teams where, you know, in years past, we've seen players that have had to go to a team and they've had to be that top player right away or within the first year or two because the team is still bad. I think maybe the 76ers could be an example of that with Ben Simmons. He obviously panned out a little bit, and maybe that's not the best example for what I'm trying to say here, but I just think that I like the situation that LaMelo Ball is in, and I like the team that's kind of around him right now. So that's why LaMelo Ball is going to be a buy for me.